through more than one software discussion at this point? Yes, you are. Our AV team is like, yes, Sarah, I have. And I didn't even know I was as interested in software as I am right now. I'm thrilled. So, you know what? As we talk about software and the right business management software for your dealership is a big decision, isn't it? Finding the right one and going through the implementation process is not for the faint of heart. And it's one of those things that you want to pick the right one that will really allow you to move your dealership forward in a big way. And so, this is a great way to just really look at, have an in-depth look at each of these softwares and understand what's going on inside of them and allowing us to move forward. So, how many of you, is any of you, this is your first software discussion that you sat through? Okay, very good. So I want to kind of set a few ground rules, understanding about this. If you've sat in some of these already, you've heard this a million times. But I think it's important to say, you know, when we talk about software, there's a few questions that typically come up. The first one is, number one, we hear you guys at Bob Clemens International recommend software all the time. How do you decide which software to recommend? That's one of the first questions. Or, I'm looking for software, which one do I pick? So when a software company in any of the spaces that we're working in says, hey, we want to show you our software, there's a list of things that as a company we say you need to kind of meet for us to recommend you. It's a pretty simple rule, and all of you in the dealership world will respect this. The first thing is, you can't be shady. Don't be shady. Don't be rude. Don't be greedy. And it's a small industry, so make sure we're all treating each other well. Okay? Can we all agree? That's a basic set of rules that we live by as a company. And when a software company starts asking us to look at their software, that's a basic set of rules. We say, let's make sure we're all playing in the same field. That's the first thing. Number two, when we look at software companies, it comes down to making sure that they are going to take care of you like we would take care of you. We expect their customer support and their responsiveness to be on the same par and same level that our company would take care of you. And so before we ever recommend the software, that's one of the things that's really important to us. The other question I get all of the time, and if you've been in other software sessions, you've heard me mention this, is do the software company pay you for leads for customers? No. AJ, have you ever paid me for a lead for a customer?
$0.
$0. So I just feel like that's something that everybody asks me and everybody wonders. You heard it here. They get $0 for leads for customers or connecting them with dealers who it would work with. So we really try to keep it above the board and just say, listen, we are recommending these companies because we truly believe they're the best thing for you and your dealership. And so, again, when we look at the software companies, and if you've sat in a few of these, you've seen a number of different ones who we truly believe, depending on what your dealership situation is, may be a good fit for you and your dealership. And it's really good to look at all of them and then make the most informed decision, because the right software company for you is not a customer relationship, but it's a partnership. In order for you to truly grow your dealership, you need the right system in place. And we get it's an investment, but it's something that can partner with you, and if you can grow your dealership with it and you can help them grow their business, it's a win for both sides. So that's really how we work and look at software companies as we go down it. So let's talk about Ideal for just a few minutes. I'm excited to be here and have this conversation with my friends from Ideal. Years and years ago, so I'm going to give this backstory because we have a little bit of time here, but years and years ago, when we first started at the GIE+EXPO, when God was a small child and my dad started out in the outdoor power equipment industry, we were given the opportunity to set up a sample dealership, and where we got to walk through processes with dealers and all of that. Were any of you here maybe 15 years ago when this all happened? Okay, and so in the midst of this, we were walking through this process of setting up this dealership that you can walk through, look at processes and all of that. And my dad, Bob, walked up to a number of software companies and said, hey, is there any way that you would put your software in our booth? Nobody knew who he was, and honestly, nobody still does. So let's just make sure we keep his ego real far down. And he said, would you be willing to put your software in our booth? And everybody said, no, we don't know who you are. No, we don't know who you are. No, we don't know who you are. And so he went up to the team at Ideal and said, would you be willing to put your software in our booth for this event? And they said, sure, what do you need? And in that moment, when they said, we will do whatever it takes to make this happen, we don't know who you are, but we are willing to partner with you to make this happen, there's something about the first person who takes you to the dance. Would you industry. The first person who steps up and says, yes, I'm willing to do that. And then all through the time of the last 15 years or so, as we've really been heavily in the green industry, one of the things that we've liked about Ideal is that they're always stepping up and saying, when we say, okay, this is what we're needing, this is the functionality, when we say jump, they say how high. And we appreciate that because the winner in this situation is you as the dealers in your business. So anyways, that's a little bit of the background and the backstory on Ideal and how we've come to be here. But I want you guys to take a quick minute, introduce yourselves, and tell us a little bit about your roles with Ideal and about the company as a whole.
Hey, Tim Berman, a longtime customer actually of Sarah and Bob. So I was a dealer for many years, came to GIE. I was right around that time, heck, I don't know, it was 2007, 2008, something like that. And it was a fantastic experience. So we grew our location from, it was myself and my dad, and eventually hired employees, grew to 2 stores, and sold it a couple of years ago. My dad was ready to slow down, and reached out to my friends at C-Systems. We used C-Systems in my dealership at that time, and came to join the company as a software designer, and interface with dealers. So y'all are my people, and and we have another former dealer here as well. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. I'm Clint Sanders. I'm in territory sales here at Ideal. But as Tim said, I was a former dealer. I know a lot of your pain points. Steel, Gravely, Dixie Chopper. We all had pain points with Dixie at one time or another. And we've been with all the Coyote Tractor, True Value. So we know the ins and the outs of the software, the do's and the don'ts to try and not only help you as in a consultant type role, but show you a return on your investment for how does this pay for itself? How does this help me? Convenience is one thing, but when we can show you a return on your money, that's what you want to be able to see. And that's what we want to build tools to be able to do that and answer questions that you're asking. We feel like a lot of times software, we develop and we fix a problem, but nobody's ever asked that question. So we want to work with you guys and having the knowledge in the industry, setting on dealer councils, setting in dealer meetings and hearing all the pain points that a lot of our dealers are having helps us to be able to bring those to the table, and we can develop and build products to help answer those questions.
All right, well, without further ado, let's get into our questions. Again, if you have been in any of these sessions before, you'll know that we are keeping the questions consistent across the board. As I said in the beginning, with some of the other sessions, the things that you need to know is they have had the questions before, so this is not off the cuff. They know what to expect. And I did promise them I was not going to ask them about their opinions on vaccination status or who's going to run for president in the next term. Okay, so that's where we're at. That's what we're gonna keep it about software, but we're gonna keep it fun. All right, let's go. All right, so the first question I have for you is about your ideal dealership, no pun intended. Okay, so what I want to know is, what does the ideal dealership look like for you? On the flip side, I want to know, what does the ideal dealership not look like for you? So who is not the ideal customer for you and your dealer, or for you and your business management system?
Yeah, so when we're developing software, we always build tools, integrations, interfaces that are the manufacturers that you all are dealing with. So some of those, as we're growing and going through some of those things, we want to build products that are specific to the outdoor power equipment industry. We want to work with those manufacturers, work with you all in setting up and building tools, products, and things that you want. So, we have a lot of what we call OPE+. They have outdoor power equipment, but they also sell boats. We have outdoor power equipment, but they also sell marine supplies. They also have some RVs. Maybe they're a trailer dealer. And we have a lot of those integrations and interface. So, if you say, who would not be a true prospect for us? Within anything that has to go would be registered with the DMVs or registered with the state and all the documents and all of those things, such as marine boats, or you're looking also at a lot of the RV industry and those type of things.
Yeah,
power sports, just so many of those guys that now we're trying to get anything our hands on that we could sell. So we never thought we may be selling that, and here we are raising our hand and reaching out to those manufacturers. So we've all dealt with that pain point in the past year and a half. So that's what our ideal dealer looks like. Across the board, we have 2,500 customers. Gives us a good array of what our customers look like, the size volume that those customers are doing, So it helps us to be able to build those products based upon the metrics that our customers have. That's where we really specialize.
And I want to put in real quick too, another thing is, while we do have a few sort of edge cases, there may be a locksmith or a plumber that uses our software, we don't pursue law firms, we don't pursue dental practices, we're not trying to sell to schools. There's a lot of different kinds of businesses that could sell their products through our software. There's an important reason why we are focused and committed just to Outdoor Power and Outdoor Power Plus, as we like to say, is every one of these types of businesses are very different. The customers are very different. It's very different to sell a mower and a tractor versus selling, legal services. But see, one of the other software vendors said, hey, software's never done, it's living and breathing. That was such a good statement because, every 2 weeks we're releasing something new, and it's only things that dealers ask for. We're not taking feedback outside the industry because we're all in for Outdoor Power. And that's so rare. In my years as a dealer, we were kind of the forgotten industry. We kind of got the tail end of technology, and everyone always says we're 20 years behind automotive and these others. We're here to change that.
Very good. Awesome, thank you. All right, so now the next question is going to be really hard to answer as software people, so are we ready for it? All right, as you look at your software from your perspective, what is your one most powerful feature? Yes, I told you it was going to be challenging, so I need to know, in your opinion, what your one most powerful feature is.
I'm going to say for just the power of the system itself, the ability to be able to pull any data, target those specific customer groups through text, email, and Tim is quite the expert on that product since he developed it. But those type of things, and I just have to say just the power, but also the ease of use. It is a powerful system. There may be some tools that you may say, I never need that, but it's there if you need it. We're going to be able to provide it. We've developed it. We've made that investment into it. And I think it's the power and just the robust of the system itself.
So I'm actually biased toward the CRM. That was my first project with IDNC Systems, and that allows you to target customers. But our Parts Locator, which we just rolled out this year, is probably the most unique and powerful thing that automotive has had for a long time. You go to AutoZone or something, and they can tell you, well, we don't have it. One of these other places has it. Well, we haven't had that in this industry. Maybe the occasional big OEM like a John Deere has had that. Well, we introduced that to all of our dealers for free, built into the system, where if you need to find a part that is obsolete or is having back orders this year, everything's back ordered.
Have you? No back
Right?
orders?
Show of hands if you've never had a back order this year, right? No hands. So you can look across all of our dealers and see who's got that in stock. And we've had so many dealers that go, wow, I'm suddenly getting calls for stuff that's been on the shelf for 20 years, and I'm turning it into cash. And I've had others who are saying, hey, we're able to keep our shop moving because we're able to get parts that we can't get from our distributors and OEMs. And it's super unique, and I'm really excited that we brought this to the industry.
And Tim, can I ask if you would go through for just a second and explain to us how this Park Locator works? So give me a 30,000-foot overview, because to your point, it's something that there's not really out in this industry anymore. So 30,000-foot overview, give me a 2-minute snippet. How does the Park Locator work, and how does it really help the dealers?
For sure. So the way it works is, there have been apps out there on the internet that do all these different things forever. But what's powerful about our system and the way that our dealers asked us to design it this way is we want everything to be built in right into our workflow. So if I'm looking at parts or whatever, I want everything to be right in there. So right in the workflow, when I'm putting parts on a work order, or if I'm looking at parts to quote for a customer, if I see that part's not in stock, our systems do automatically offer alternative parts, so a cross-reference to an aftermarket, a rotary stins, or that kind of thing. But if the part's not available in an aftermarket, well, or any other cross-reference we've set up, well, then we have another option, which is to look across the dealer network. And so it's right there in our part search tools in our systems. And so they click a button, and a screen pops up, and it says, here's like the top 10 or 15 locations that have that part. And actually, so I have a couple tractors at home, I have a couple acres, I'm a rural lifestyler, and I needed a power steering cylinder for my tractor, and it was back ordered from Branson, all the way from Korea. And when I knew when they were getting it, well, I was like, I wonder if this is on Parts Locator. So I searched that part, found 2 dealers that had it, and the system said, hey, there's 2 there. Now, yeah, everybody knows if you worked in parts, if the system says there's 2, let's put our hand on it first. So I called the dealer and said, hey, I'm looking for this part number. The system says you have a couple in stock. Can you put your hand on it? He said, we did. And here's what it costs. Our Parts Locator does not say the price. All right? So it just says, here's the dealer. Here's how far this dealer is from you, and they have at least 1 in stock. You can kind of configure what's shown on it. And so was able to find a part. And it's right there in the workflow for service advisors and parts company people.
Very good.
We just had, Sarah, just an instance just last week where we had a gentleman that received a Little Wonder that was about 15 years old and couldn't find parts. Little Wonder said, good luck, you're not going to find it. So he used the Parts Locator. There was one in Wisconsin, one in Canada. He called the guy in Wisconsin. He said, I thought you'd never ask. So he was able to sell that part. I'll let you have it 10% over my cost, and I'm glad to get it out of here. So, we don't determine the prices, but it just creates dealership camaraderie that you can call each other. Those hard to find John Deere parts, or those hard to find parts that we never could get our hands on. I was a JSB dealer for Gravely when I was a dealer. Well, I had to buy a $2,500 power steering kit when I became a dealer. Well, that thing sat on the shelf and collected dust. Well, now I can sell it to a Polaris dealer because of the 2. So it really creates a whole nother customer base. If you have 40,000 customers in yours and he has 50,000, I just gained another potentially 90,000 customers. They're not going to walk in my door, but they may have a part that I may have access to. So, we all know the pain points of having $300,000 of parts in inventory, and then you're ordering $50,000 a month in parts, and you're thinking, what's that $300,000 doing back there? Well, it's no inventory control, no minimums and maximums. Those things are not set. So it really creates a solution to be able to get rid of some of that $350,000 in parts. We've had people that have told us they've had calls from 20 different states selling parts. Some of the dealers say, well, I don't want my parts guy just sitting there constantly telling them, yeah, I got it, and we're telling them, sell it to them. We're not saying to give it to them or even at cost. Make it a profit center.
Very good. Well, I think that's a really cool tool that you have implemented, and something that can be incredibly useful, especially in this situation we are in with parts right now. So,
Can I also share with you that we're going to have equipment locator by the end of the year, both new and used equipment locator. So punch in a model number of a Gravely Mach 1. You're going to be able to see if it has it available, call up the dealer, see if you can do some swapping on some inventory, if you got something coming to terms, some of those things. And so we're really excited about that.
Yeah, I think most dealers are hoping and praying they have something coming on terms, right? No, I'm giving you a hard time. That's great.
Right.
That's great. All right, so one of the things that incites fear into dealers across the nation is the idea of implementation and training. Would you agree, my dealer friends? Yes. Nothing gives you quite the panic as implementing and training new software. And both of you being inside of the dealer space know this probably better than just about anyone, and how when we implement change, we've got all of these different layers that we have to implement. We've got not only the decision of the owner, but we've got to get buy-in from the people. So let's talk about what the implementation and training process looks like for a deal. So when we talk about implementation and training for the owners, would you walk us through how long does it take to implement the software, and what does that initial training process look like for the owner and the team that is there?
So there's always a risk anytime that you're going to implement any process or any product in your dealership. We understand that there's always a risk. I went through 3 different softwares in 5 years because our business was growing at such a rapid pace. And so we saw those pain points, we saw the risk, the techs didn't want to do this, and we hear that a lot. You said, my technicians will never clock in and out of work orders, or we'll never be able to do this, or we'll never do that. And we just tell our business owners, it's your business. And when the time comes that you want to either go from being and making a living to making money, these are some of the things that you have to do. And we've all been there, we go through the first year of, we're going to just, the customer's always right, and we've all been there. We think we can make money at $60 an hour labor, and then we get 3 years into it, we've sold $5 million a year in equipment, we think, why do I have $20,000 in the bank? So when you go to implement the software, there's a risk. There's always that risk. And so what we want to be able to do is to hold your hand through that entire process. And where Ideal really specializes is in our customer service, professional services. Our implementation team is state-of-the-art. We survey regularly our existing customers. How did we do on this process? What did we do? Scott Hall is in here, and he works with our team on a daily basis, and he is helping to install those customers. So we don't just send you a library of videos. We install the software. We walk you through the training at different times. We'll schedule you for the parts. We'll schedule for the service. We'll schedule sales, purchase orders, because we're not going to set you down, because Lord knows we don't have enough time to sit down and do 20 hours of software training in 2 days, because we got a business to run. And we can't shut down in order to install the software. So we try to schedule hours, 2 hours at a time. Let you take that in, soak it in. You've got a demo database. You're working through the dummy database. You're working through some of those pain points that we discussed. So you don't want your parts manager going through the accounting side of the software. So we set specific times, and we can have as many people as necessary to train. We do all of those through Zoom right now due to COVID, but we do have somebody one-on-one with you, training you, walking you through those processes, helping you through those conversions, giving you the templates. Hey, put it in this template. We'll walk with you through that product. And that's really what, helps minimize the risk, because they've seen the value in what we're doing.
So from the time someone decides to move to your system until the time they're up and running in their dealership, how long specifically, or on an average, do you see that taking? And then what are those steps? So let's walk me through from the time somebody decides to purchase to when they're up and running. What do the steps look like step by step?
Can you want to speak to that?
Sure. So it depends on the time of year. GIE, we have a lot of dealers sign up, and so it'll be a little bit longer this time of year versus, say, if someone signed in like June or July or whatever. I'm not involved directly in a lot of the implementations, but I would say typically it's a couple of months kind of thing. But I'll defer to Scott or our sales manager as far as an exact time. But typically about that kind of time, and then we've done trainings. I've seen implementations and trainings take place over a few days. I've seen them take place over a couple of weeks. Our goal is not to just, it's a lot to take in. When you're learning sometimes new business processes. Now we try to tailor as much as possible our systems to your processes. Sometimes the dealer processes are not following best practices. Like, well, in our old system, we could sell through whole goods, and we didn't have serial numbers in there, and we could just enter them later after the fact. Well, we do follow GAAP accounting practices and that kind of thing. So sometimes there's a little bit of adjustment to the process versus, hey, what's your service flow look like? And so we walk through those things in advance. We make sure that the hardware and the software, or that they've got the right versions of Windows and that kind of thing. And then we're able to get them up and going. Like I said, in a few days to maybe a couple of weeks, depending on how they want to crawl, walk, and run. And then we're able to come back later and do follow-up trainings, because I don't know about you, but even just after like this week of meeting with everybody, talking with everybody, and all this stuff, it's a lot to process, right? Learning new software and making new processes, it's a lot to process. And so we're able to do follow-ups and reinforce and build upon that. Typically, a few weeks or a couple months later.
Very good. So if somebody brings on a new employee, what does that look like? What is the best way for them to train the new employee on how to utilize your software?
So we have a whole library of software training webinars that we've accumulated through the years, things that the salesmen have done and the developers have worked with. And we would walk them through that. Typically we're going to have those broke down in specific. How do you place a spring order? That way it's very time specific, because the last thing you want to do is prepare to train somebody how to do a spring order in March, and you're not going to revisit that again. So all of those webinars are always recorded. That's where I would start, and have somebody there, on site, on your staff, to be able to walk through that. It is it is a process. There's no doubt about it. And to the time frame side of things, we get into a lot of the conversions and those things. So that sometimes adds to a lot of the complexity of those conversions, to get back to what we were just previously talking about as well.
One of the big things, it kind of surprised me. I was so used to, as a dealer, when I had a question, I'd pick up the phone and I would call them support, and I would get in the queue, and then they would call me back within a few minutes or whatever. But I was used to phone support. Now I would send an email if it wasn't urgent, but if there's something urgent, I wanted to talk to somebody on the phone. then I started using other software, and I played with some other software that was outside of the dealership space. You couldn't get anybody on the phone. Like, you're lucky if you even get live chat. Typically, it's like email. And one of the things that we found is that not everybody offering dealership software offers phone support, or they charge a lot extra for phone support. It's built for us. It's just part of it, because especially when you're brand new and you got sales to make or whatever, you got questions, you need to get a hold of somebody. And so we've got people, you know, that you can get a hold of, especially when you first are getting up and off the ground. Where sure, you could email, but you could get a hold of us on the phone, and we can walk you through whatever the process is, or show you where the knowledge base, or where you can find that as well.
All right, so the next question is kind of a fun question. I want to hear about a dealer who is fully utilizing your software. So I know that there are so many different incredible features that are built in, but tell me about a dealer who is fully utilizing your software, and what is one thing they're doing to fully utilize it that no one else is doing?
Yeah, so, picking out of the 2,500 dealers across our dealer family.
Super small base, so go ahead. Yeah.
So it makes it extremely tough. There are going to be all those that you're going to know, anywhere from distributors to individual customers that we know, those that we do business with all the time, the landscaping company, Tim is slipping my mind, the
WPE.
WPE,
Yes.
yeah, WPE, and that do a lot of customer success stories. Some of the things that they do different than anybody else does. We want to know what they're, we want to know what they're doing, how they're utilizing our software, and they really take full advantage of everything in the software, from the reporting all the way out to the purchasing and everything that they're doing to set parameters so they don't have all this excess inventory in the back. And I would say those are the ones that come to mind for my mind right off the bat.
Well, and I'm going to run into, I'm partial to, so our CRM, Target CRM, was the product that I designed, and I think of P&P Small Engines. They're in Des Moines, Iowa. They're not too far from our ideal Cedar Rapids office. And P&P, they're awesome folks over there. And they started using our CRM. They were an early adopter for us. We had a dealer council all through the development process. They gave us some advice on what they wanted to see, how they needed this CRM to help them develop relationships with customers and get in touch with customers and get reviews. Their reviews, when they started with us, they had about 100 on Google or so, which is really good compared to a lot of dealers. Well, now about a year later or so, they've got like 270. And so they're using Target CRM to get customer feedback, listen to that feedback, fix their broken processes, and they have raving customers, rave reviews on Google, and the reputation. It really helps them to amplify the reputation. Oftentimes when you look on Google, you don't see what it's really like to do business with a dealership. And we help them to amplify what the customer buying process, customer experience is like. And they're an exceptional dealer, and I highly recommend, if you get a chance, reach out to those guys. They're really down to earth. They run an excellent business, or an excellent parts business especially, and have been with us a long time. Great beta tester.
And they're really fun. So if you don't know them, you should just go meet them anyways. They're a good time. They're a good time.
They hung out with us for a couple hours yesterday in the booth.
Good, good. All right, so this next question is the hardest of them all. And I'm going to ask you to do a 10-minute software demonstration for us. Now, I know that what I'm asking from you is a gargantuan task. Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, all right, so I'm going to ask you to do 10 minutes, and I am not afraid to cut you off, all right? We're keeping the playing field level for everyone, which is why we're doing it in just 10 minutes.
Sure.
But Clint, this is your moment to shine. You got 10 minutes, my friend.
All right. I'm gonna hurry to get started. Thank you, Sarah, it's an honor for us to be able to be here and to represent the Ideal Software and the Constellation family. So one of the things that we want to discuss, again, I got 10 minutes, so I'm from Tennessee, so I got to talk a whole lot faster than I normally do.
By the way, he's also on Sundays, he's a pastor, and so he really likes to hear himself talk.
That's right. I've never seen a microphone or a piece of fried chicken that I'm most scared of, that's for sure. And so one of the things that we wanted to do was just kind of lay out, what does Ideal do? Everybody says we're all in one. Well, if I tell our dealers, our prospects, if I have $100 and Tim has $1,000 in his pocket. I got all I got. He's got all he's got, but he's got way more. So, you know, as we look through the software, we look at the things that set us apart, the specialized things, and these are just some of the things that encompass what makes the ideal software. So our number one, slide here is just inventory control, being able to make sure that we have the parts in stock that customers are asking for. We can have lost sales reports if a customer comes in. It's something that we don't have. We're not typically stocking it. At the end of the quarter, we run a lost sales report. We've had 5 people come in our dealership asking for that report. We need to start stocking it. We need to put some of those in stock to be able to see. And you'll notice on the bottom right-hand screen there, right over in here, is an activity report. So as I'm pulling up those reports and I'm seeing the activity of that product, I can see when I last received it. I can see how long it sat on my shelf. I can see the last time that it was counted for inventory, and I can also see what I purchased it for. So if I have a customer comes in, he says, I paid this X amount of dollars for those blades last year. Yeah, you did, but I can pull up right here on the screen, and I can tell him exactly what he paid for it. So, this is where we set our parameters, where we set our profit margins that we want to set based on the suppliers of the individual product. This is where we make our money. Most of us always are looking for where the holes are at in our dealership, and this is one of them. When we don't update the product files and the price files as we should, this is where we see the holes in our dealership. So you see some of those are color-coded. It's kind of hard to tell. Some are in blue, and some are in white, some are in bold. So that's going to tell us if the part's been superseded, if there's something that's related to that part, if it's in stock, if it's out of stock, and all of those things. And you'll notice right here at the bottom is this Parts Locator. So right there on the back. So if I'm going down through here and I see that all these numbers are in 0, I have 0 of those on hand, I can look up the Parts Locator. If it's highlighted in green, somebody in my dealer network has it. If it's in red, that tells me that nobody else has that particular part. So the next one is our service. Again, another very potentially either a pain point in our industry or is a great profit center. And when we maximize and we're able to capitalize in our service department, this is where it's really going to make a huge difference for our dealerships. So this is, again, the work order tab, being able to track those work orders. We have a mobile device that we're also able to take out in the yard, and we can go out there. The customer's telling us and he's requesting, I want a full service special, but while you're here, this thing's leaking fuel. We're able to write multiple work orders inside, multiple jobs inside of each work order for that customer.
No clipboards needed.
No clipboards needed, yeah. Yeah, and nobody is saying, what? Now, who talked to that customer? We're going to be able to sign in on our mobile app. And some of the customers, and you can even do it when they call in. You can schedule pickup and deliveries right here out of this tab. So that way you're keeping track all the time of the estimates that need to be sent out and exactly what's going on in that service department all of the time. So we can see everything that we need to be able to see. If it's a customer that we sold the whole good to, it's going to automatically, because we're inside that customer's account creating the work order, it's automatically going to populate the serial number, the model number, any past, if we serviced it in the past, so we can see all of the metrics that go along with that particular unit as well. Sales and invoicing. So here on the left-hand screen, what you're seeing is basically we're trying to sell a part that we don't have in stock. The system is going to automatically generate. It's going to ask us 3 questions. 1, do I want to special order the difference? 2, do I want to report a lost sale? Or do I want to readjust the inventory for the difference? Because everybody knows our parts they're always on point, right? We always know exactly what's in there. So it's hard to report a lost sale when you hold the part in your hand. So basically what that does is that allows us to be able to readjust our inventory without having to go all the way back through the screen. We can adjust the inventory, and it's going to adjust our accounting practices as well. You'll notice also down there in the bottom left-hand corner, there's that Parts Locator again. So anytime within the system that you're looking up anything that has to do with parts or products, there's always going to be that Parts Locator tab. So you always have full visibility of what that looks like. Over there in the bottom right-hand corner, what you see is that Parts Locator. So basically, we've typed in part number 1000052, which is a Stens air filter. It goes on a Kawasaki engine, aftermarket part. And basically what that tells us is where it's in stock at if we can't get it. So again, the manufacturer's back order, we've kind of discussed those things. That's the value of that parts locator. And again, we have the equipment locator coming as well. Customer management, our CRM, this is one of the things that Ideal really likes to push. If you can capture a customer, you can capture them from marketing. So we always want to encourage, there's always going to be that cash customer that's going to come flying through there. We all have that. But if you can capture that customer, that way you can target them down the road. Even if they come in just for a blade, for a particular zero turn, you can still reach out to them down the road and you can target that specific group. The last thing we want to do is target someone in a marketing campaign, or they receive a mailer from us that they own an X mark that we sold them, but we also sell hustlers. The last thing we want to do is market them to try to push them over to a hustler. So we have different parameters inside the customer history file that allow us to be able to target that specific customer based upon what he's buying and based upon the past transactions that we have. And we have databases that have 50,000 plus easy customers within the database, 100,000.
Some I've seen upwards of 350,000.
Yeah, so the big online dealers, they would get way on up there in that customer database. So if we can capture that, we have an opportunity to get them back in the door, to keep our doors turning. Everybody wants to, we want to keep them off Amazon, we want to keep them out of the local area there. We want to be able to do that as well.
And Clint, I might just mention real quickly too, while we have some dealers that have got 10 plus locations, our average dealership is like, it's kind of like the average American family has got, what, like 2.5 kids or something like that? Well, our average dealership is like 1.15 locations. So a lot of our dealers, more than, I would say about half of our dealers at least, are a single location. And I've looked at some of these customer databases that may be only like, 2,000, 3,000 customers. This is a system that can start small and it's very scalable as you go up to a new chapter in your business, whether that's growing to a really high volume single location or whether that's adding stores.
We want to be a partner with you for the life of your business. We want to grow with you. That's the intention. This is just kind of a brief overview of our accounting. We can integrate with QuickBooks if we need to, but we also have our own accounting software inside of Ideal. It helps us to be able to generate a lot of reports and those things. Here is another good dashboard that we like to use to be able to look at the metrics, to be able to see what the service is looking like, what our inventory serialized is looking like, our inventory levels, what they're looking like, our shop efficiency rates, the average profit per transaction. Any metric that you want to be able to see, there's a dashboard that is available for that. So you can customize that, again, for any need that you have for your specific dealership, and we can show you how to set up those as well.
Right, throw up on a TV screen on the wall if you want to have where you can keep track of a few metrics and not buried.
Yeah, that's right. We also mentioned the mobile app that is available. We have, again, we can do inventory control. We can also generate work orders, and we can do all of those things right through the mobile app available as well. We have long-standing partnerships, hundreds of partnerships with manufacturers that we've worked with through the years. And these are just a list of some of those key suppliers that we all are used to seeing and doing business with. We have integrated payment solutions. Helps us to be able to save time and money by making a payment fast and accurate and efficient that we can send out to the customers. If you're using our merchant services account and our partnership with Gravity Payments, that you can send a link to a customer, they can pay you. The intent is a customer calls in and need a full service special. All right, here we're going to schedule the pickup and the delivery. We're going to create the work order. We're going to go out, we're going to deliver the customer. Because we know what units are coming in, we should not have to order the part when that unit gets there. We know what's coming. We sold it to him. We know the blades that go on it. We know the oil filter that goes on it. We know the air filter that goes on it. We know what's there. So if we send that out through our target CRM, we want to pitch to 1,000 customers. And we want to be able, if we get a 10% return back and they say, yes, schedule me. If we make $50 on the net, on each of those fall service specials, we know what's coming in. There's none of this 2-week lag time. Who's doing this? We can already have all of those things pre-scheduled. That's what sets Ideal apart from any of these. We can actually calculate and give you a return on your investment. When you're done with that, hey, sir, we're going to deliver your product, but I'm going to send you a link. If you don't mind, go ahead and pay me for it, because there's nothing worse than tracking down money after the work's been done for 30, 60, 90 days on a fall service special when Lord knows we're broke, right? And we're doing those things anyway.
We've got about a minute left, guys, so we're wrapping up here.
And that's text to pay, or they could pay by email too, if you're on their phone.
Yeah, so we have a dealer portal that's available. This is the one place you have a question, you can go right here. Any of the knowledge is, you can submit your support tickets right to us. Again, this goes right to the support staff. Someone will reach out to you, and they will take those in the order that they are received. We are a cloud-based DNS solution, so it gives you the opportunity to be able to work from anywhere, lowers your IT costs. It also is going to, basically it's going to let us, that's what we do. We're in the software industry. Let us take care of your data, you run your dealership. So many times we have to focus on running our data, making sure everything is secure, everything is backed up. We want to ease that burden, and we want to be able to make you, to have to eliminate the local installations. We take care of all of those things for you as well. We discussed the Parts Locator, and here's the Target CRM product, and we can answer and ask any more questions on that if we'd like to, Sarah. Thank you.
All right, perfect. And if you want a more in-depth demo, more than the 10 minutes in this giant task I gave them, I'm just going to tell you, I don't think I've met any software person who's like, Sarah, I can give a cohesive demo of my entire software in 10 minutes. So I just want to be clear, I've been setting them up for a very tough task here. But go visit with them at their booth. They'll give you a more in-depth demonstration of their software and what it can do.
Sure.
But again, this is our 30,000-foot view, keeping it equal across the board. So thank you guys for that. All right, so my very last question before we open it up for any other questions in the audience is, in what way specifically does your team make dealers' lives easier? Because at the end of the day, everyone here is going, and you guys know it firsthand, we're running a business, we're wearing a million different hats. How does their lives easier because they are choosing to partner with you?
You know, I would think one of the things that I always think that our dealers are looking for, when they need help, we're there. We're not going to send them a video, we're not going to send them to a chat link, you pick up the phone, you call us, we're there. We have account managers, we have industry-leading support staff. Our dealers, we survey them regularly, asking them, how are we doing? You tell us, we want to improve our processes, because if we can improve, they get better as well, they make more money. So one of the things that I think that really sets us apart is that support staff. That when you need them, they're there. And we have employees been with us 20 plus years. They know the software. They've seen the pain points that dealers are working through, and so they're able to help in a time of need. You know, that's what we're all looking for.
And I would say too, there's more people in our company who have worked in a dealership for a couple of years or many years than any of the other technology providers in outdoor power. So our head of support, she spent many years in OBE. Her family had an OBE dealership in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. One of our product managers, his dad had a marine dealership for many years. He understands dealership. We've got tons of people who have got dealership experience in our development team, and our support team, and our trainer team, and our sales team. We feel your pain when things are tough. It's tough hiring people, when we're getting hit with price increases every other day from manufacturers and back orders, and when Amazon is doing what Amazon does, so we're right there with you, and we understand, we speak your language, and we're here for you.
All right, so are there any specific questions you have about ideal software for our dealers in the group? No. We feel like we've got everything answered over the last few minutes. I mean, that was pretty impressive. Here's what I will say. If you don't have questions right now that you want to ask, swing by their booth. Do you know what your booth number is?
Absolutely. It's 7004.
7004. All right, swing by their booth. They would be happy to give you a more in-depth demonstration, answer any questions that you have, and have an opportunity to meet the team.
Can I tell them where it is? Because we had a wonderful mishap when we got here. We all got here, and guess what didn't show up? Our whole booth. Nothing showed up. So here we
It's
are.
our supply chain issue.
That's right. We're having a supply chain issue. I guess it's on a ship somewhere on the West Coast. We don't know. It was delivered here, but we don't know where it is. So we look like minimalists. So we're really cutting back on things this year. But so if you walk in right through the food court, you walk down the yellow brick road, you go past, I believe, you going right into where they're doing the podcast and the radio, turn left, and we're right up there on the right. So if you need to see us, everybody, my brother-in-law walked past us 5 times earlier, and he said, I don't know, where are you? I don't know where you are. So we do want to apologize for that. We try to work through that and be able to help you the best that we can.
Well, thank you guys. Again, can we give it up for our friends at Ideal for just a minute? Excellent. Thank you all for being in here and joining us. I hope that this afternoon of software discussions was helpful for you and making the right choice for your dealership. I know the team will be here to visit with you a little bit more and then go visit them at their booth. Thanks, guys. Have a great afternoon.